So that makes me kind of familiar with the Western languages. So I can speak those a little bit. I can hear and say hello if I have to.
Realize that I have two stories. Yeah, but
Oh.
I will make it very short.
Mm.
Yeah, it's happened two events, two situations here in Japan. So just starting, I realized when I came to Japan. Okay, so my very first year, probably second or third month. So I'm one of these participants on those famous tea ceremony events, and then wearing kimono and so on and so on. Yeah, so I used to live in Osaka in that dormitory, and so speaking Japanese with my broken Japanese at that moment. Yeah, less than 6 months in Japan, but tea ceremony and kimono and so on. The only African there. And suddenly, I'm talking with this girl from Australia, and actually, she was speaking Japanese very, very well, fluently. And then we are communicating in Japanese, and then we go to English. Suddenly, she changed her face, like when she asked me, "Oh, in your country, how many languages do you guys speak?" And I say, "Well, we speak Portuguese, and then we have a lot of local languages." And then she said, "Oh, man, it was literally sad. You could see her face. Man, you are so good. What do you mean? And you speak Portuguese, and now you are speaking my language, English, and then we are speaking Japanese as well, three. But and then you have your local language as well. So we in Australia, we just have English. It's like if you kill English, nothing else we have. Okay, so it like I envy you. So I'm hearing those things for me was like, man, a white girl saying good things about my local language when I myself I don't look at them like so important. And yeah, and then I started realizing I'm rich.
Yeah.
Yeah, so why I don't and at that moment I didn't communicate in Kikongo very, very well because for me it was like, yeah, we use this language just to talk with my parents, my grandparents, and so on and so on. But since we read, we speak, we write, we do everything in Portuguese, so I don't need to spend much time with Kikongo. Yeah, but talking to that girl, it made me realize that no, we have wealth there back home. I need to learn those language. So it's like she is praising me, but at the same time, I myself within me, I'm sad because I don't speak that language very well. If she asked me hard question now in my language, man, I'll be ashamed. So the second event happened when I met this girl from Russia. She was, I don't know if she's still there, a student there at Osaka University.
She left.
So I'm I'm going home from campus, Streeter campus, almost midnight, and then I met this guy from Tunisia. He introduced me his girlfriend, the Russian girl. Then so, oh
I
look, this
think
is my
Babu knows
friend.
the people we are talking about.
Yeah, this is my girlfriend, and look, this is my friend from Angola. His name is sometimes they used to call me Rene, and then when I heard Rene, I said no, Zinga. And then so it's happened. Yeah, his name is Zinga. And suddenly, this Russian girl, he greeted me with Lingala. It was Kikongo. She called it Kikongo, but I will explain why I said it's Lingala. Uh, she said something in Kikongo, and I was really surprised. How come Russian in Japan? And I didn't say anything at all in Kikongo, but she started with Kikongo. So my first question was, where? How? How did you learn it? How do you know that I can't understand it? And then she said, no, I'm taking this class in Kikongo here at the university. No, 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 it's not true. We don't have these even in my country. We don't have even at school, secondary level. There is no classes in our local languages. So except if you go to a faculty like a linguistic course, there you will take these languages. So and then story long, make story long short, said, yeah, we are taking this course with a Congolese professor. And then I correct her sentence. No, 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 that's not correct. Actually, it's not Kikongo. It's a mix of Kikongo and Lingala. What do you mean is this and that? And then I met this professor, and this professor, he's from Congo Republic. When he found out that I'm from Angola, he said, no, 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 you have to teach me Kikongo because your Kikongo, Angola Kikongo, is the original Kikongo, which is true. Because going to the past, the Congo Kingdom, which was in the northern of Angola, Republic of Congo, DRC. So the capital was in Angola. So it's the standard. It's like Japanese, you know, you have the Tokyo dialects and then you have the Kansai and so on. So like England and so on. So the Kikongo standard was in Angola. And so this professor is asking me, please teach me your Kikongo. And then we start speaking, communicating Kikongo. Whenever I call my parents, we speak in Kikongo as well. And I'm pushing those kids, my little brothers, nephew, you guys should learn Kikongo. It's truly important. Uh, don't stop speaking Portuguese, but don't give much attention to Portuguese. Go back to our language. If you can also learn our other local language, not only our tribes as well, that's truly important. So I can say that it's behind shameful situation that I realized that, man, we have wealth back home. Yeah. So
Actually,
that's
Zinga, thank you for sharing that. Now that I remember, those are two stories. You told me both stories, and I was like, I have to ask Zinga to come and share this with the rest of the world, because you see, it is until we are in these very strange situations that you realize, as you said, we have a lot of wealth, a lot of identity. There's a time I found a girl in the bus, and she was reading hard. It was exam time, and I read the sentences. I was like, wait, that's Swahili. Well, I don't speak Swahili well, but Swahili is a mixture of Arabic and Bantu languages, and I'm a Bantu speaker. So I read the sentences, I was like, this is Swahili, you know? So I tapped her, if that is even in Japan, that's a bit rude, but I was compelled, like, is that Swahili? She was like, yeah, I have an exam at, I think she was going to do it like at around 1 o'clock. So I'm trying to revise. I also felt a bit of shame. I also felt a bit of like, this person is, I don't know how many kilometers away from East Africa, but they are killing themselves to learn Swahili. And well, I don't speak Swahili. Oh, that's another story for another day, but I can hear, so I'm not very bad, okay? It's not very bad. But I felt like we really need to put a lot of emphasis on our mother tongues. We need to really understand that we don't have to completely kill them, but we need to find a way for everything to coexist. And Joy, thank you for joining us. You've come in the middle of the conversation. We've been talking about language, uh, how many languages people speak, how did this start, and I think you found us. You found in the middle of Zinga's story, quite
Yeah.
interesting. So, Joy, you'll have to introduce yourself a little bit. Uh, Please introduce yourself to everyone else.
Okay. Yes. Hi, guys. Hi. I'm so happy
uh,
to see you. Yes, I'm Joyce Nabisa Lukomakech. I'm currently in the United States here in Oklahoma, but I'm originally from Uganda, East Africa. Um, what can I say? I speak Luganda. I hear a bit of all the languages in the country, the common, like I can hear a bit of Lusoga. Of course, Lusoga is so close to my language. I hear Lutoro a lot because my mother-in-law is a Motoro. Um, so that makes me kind of familiar with the Western languages. So I can speak those a little bit. I can hear and say hello if I have to. Otherwise, actually, my husband speaks a totally different language, and I can only say hello in Acholi. He speaks Acholi. So we are actually bound by the English. If there was no English, I don't think we would be married.
Yeah, that's extremity. But he speaks Luganda too.
Oh,
Definitely.
yeah, okay, yeah. He speaks Luganda fluently, so maybe, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So what else
So
can I say? Yeah, I have my two kids here with me. Since you're talking about languages, yeah, it's a difficult thing, like teaching native languages to kids
Okay.
here.
all right, so Zinga, we thank you for joining us today, and because you have to rush elsewhere, I'd like to ask you, learning a different language because you talked about you have the two mother tongues that you speak, Lingala and Kikongo, then you learned Portuguese, then you learned English and Japanese. I'd like to ask you, learning all these languages, you know, how has it changed your perspective of life? You know,
Mm,
because
mm,
for me, as I said, I think I used to take my mother tongue for granted and maybe also English for granted. But when I came to Japan and I'm like, hey, wait, there's this Africans who are speaking French and they're definitely different. Like their thought process or whatever is different. And not because they come from a different part of Africa. Well, that's part of the reason, but also because of language. So what about you? How has learning different languages changed your perspective of life?
mm. Yeah, thank you for the question. Great question. Uh, I'm a language enthusiast. I like to learn languages. And, it's like learning a new language, it's like acquiring a new citizenship. Yeah. So it's like something new happened to you. It's like new world. Uh, for example, especially when you get that level of fluency, not necessarily you should be there, but just by starting learning that new language, you start understanding even the feelings of that people. You understand them better. It's like you learn, for example, idioms, slangs, and then you start understanding what do they mean when they say so, when they are talking about these. You can even feel, it's totally different if you don't immerse yourself in that
Yeah.
situation. Yeah, so that's a door that the language open to you, like acquiring a new citizenship. You don't kill your own citizenship. You don't need to. You don't forget it, of
You just
course.
add on.
Adding. Yeah, it's like, man, it's like you are not leaving that country, but you are there
Yeah.
on the courts. Yeah, because you understand the people, you understand the feelings and the culture. So, and then we have a lot of advantages that will can help you to avoid worse situation as well. Uh, a lot of negative situation when you know the language, so you have all these skills with you. So, but essentially it's like a new way of seeing life, new way to understand people, and so on and so on. So those are some of the things that I've been experiencing my journey of learning languages. Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much, Zinga. Hopefully we'll have you
Welcome.
another time. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for taking up time to share with us.
Thank you so much for having me. It was really nice to meet you guys. I took note of all your mother tongues names. As I said, I'm a language enthusiast. I will do my best. One day I would like to learn some of these languages as well. So I hope to be with you next time. Thank you for having me.
Okay. Okay.
Bye
Thank
there.
you, man.
Nice
Bye
meeting
bye.
you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Right. So you've all spoken about having like different languages. Joy, you said you speak one local language and you hear others and you know English. I'd like to ask you about because you all are city born. And I remember Wilson talked about people might bully you if you don't speak the local language in the area, or they might like if you go out there. So have there been instances in your life where maybe you've gone back to the village and you feel like a total outcast. Perhaps because you have spoken your mother tongue, but there's a bit of an accent to it or something. Are there instances like that in your countries?
Personally, I haven't felt like that in any way because Uganda, the way it is geographically divided, I happen to come from the central tribe where the capital city is. So basically, everyone who comes from wherever they come from around the country, they definitely have to speak my language. So I don't have the pressure to learn any other native language because everyone is trying to learn mine. So if I decided to learn any other language, it's like there is a special interest. Like, okay, I tried to learn another Lutoro because of my mother-in-law. So, but that is like out of love. It's not like, oh, I really had to learn it. So it's basically been to my advantage. But again, from a broader perspective, it's a disadvantage if I can't talk to other people. Yeah, and then being here for like 5 years, I tried to communicate with people at home in my native language, and I never even spice it up like, oh, I've been here for so long, and so my accent has changed. No, I sound the same way I sounded when when I was there. So for me, it hasn't been any different.
Okay. Wilson?
Yeah, for me it's completely different because as I told you, my parents speak with me in Portuguese, but they can speak like local language as well. But there is something on it is that our mother tongue, like my parents' name, is not like the language that they are using now, the language that they are speaking. Uh, I will explain it. They are coming from the north part of southern Mozambique. So they used to speak Chichopi. Their parents used to speak. So that is their native language. But because of the war, they are forced to move to the southern part of Mozambique in Maputo, the capital city, also for economic reasons. So both of them, they grow up in Maputo, so they speak the language, the Shangana from Maputo, which make it difficult because I feel more connected when my father speak his own language, like his native language. But in another hand, because we live in Maputo, we speak a different language, which is Changana. And my mother also speak like the same language. And uh, sometimes when they want, they can use their like mother language, but the Shangana is also their mother language, which it confuses me. When I was before like 17, 18, I think I was able to speak both of them fluently. But when I grew up and I went to university, this elite thing, like, okay, I'm not speaking anymore, so I lost it. Like I lost my fluency. Now it has like a bit of accent, so people can know that, okay, this guy is a city boy, this guy cannot speak our language, because I speak in a very weird way,
Sophisticated way.
yeah, very sophisticated. So it's so shameful. But connected to this, there is another problem. Um, Connected to this, there is another problem because, um, okay, now I'm a father, um, and my wife is from completely different region from my region. So she comes from, the northern part of southern Mozambique, and she cannot speak her native language. She speaks only Portuguese. So she can understand a bit, but basically she speaks Portuguese. And I cannot speak my native language either. So yeah, the question is, because you're talking about next generation,
Yeah.
when you have multi, ethnic background like me, I'm telling you that, my parents have to share like three languages, and now I'm like, this is like another generation, right? I'm the one with background of 3 languages. Which language I will teach my kids? My wife has like a different language, you know. Um, Going back to Samuel Machel, I told you the idea of killing the tribe and stuff. He did something interesting. He combined this ideology with inter-ethnic marriages. So just after the independence, he forced people like politicians, whatever people, to marry people from different regions, like people from the south, must marry people from the north, and even the policy of going to the army was to try to balance. They will take some from the north and train them at the north part, like south people will train on the north, and then they will take people from the north, and then they will be sent to be trained in the south part, so they can mix up everything, so we cannot have like the nation divided in an ethnic lines. So we have this, and we have so many inter-ethnic marriages, but it comes with this problem: how the parents will, teach their kids, because their mother is a background with 3 language, and then the father speak a completely different language. It get like very, very complicated. So I didn't answer your question properly, but I brought like another question: how you deal with multiple identities, like me. Like, I cannot teach like my young Yuki to speak my language. My wife cannot teach her like to speak her language, and yeah, that's it.
Wow.
It's not that easy. That it's not that easy.
I'll throw that
I
question
think
too.
all of us here are going to have the same challenge. So yeah, you're not alone.
I'll throw both of those questions to Vago. First, the question of, well, we can start off with the aspect of, what is it called? Multicultural, multi-country marriages and relationships. What is your strategy? That is one. Two, when we go back, the whole thing of city born and blah blah blah. How have you experienced that, and what are your thoughts on that? So you can start with whichever.
Okay, well, I think I'll start with the city boy thing. Well, I was also born in Conakry, which is the
We are all
capital.
sellouts.
So my parents come from Fouta which is one region of Guinea, and they all come from the same prefecture, Mamu, and they're all Fulani. They're from the same tribe because, as I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, it's a multi-ethnic country, and we have many tribes. And the truth is, we are still very much conservative. This means that like people really marry within their tribe. Like it's not really like we don't have probably as many inter-ethnic marriages as Mozambique or other countries. So my parents come from the same background. Like their villages are not very far apart from each other. My mother is from a place called Sabu, and my father is from Horefelo. So walking distance, they went to the same schools. Come on. But they met in the capital city because they came to uni in the capital city, and they got married. And I mean, they both speak Fulani. So I mean, we speak Fulani at home, so I can speak Fulani. We only speak Fulani at school. We speak French, but um, there's a difference. There's a difference between the Fulani that we speak in the capital city and the Fulani that's spoken in the village. Like they have, like it's because first of all you have to understand that Fulanis are also called Pearl in French, Fula. It's a we are a tribe of cattle herders. So back in the day, like you can find, not even back, even to this day, you can find we are spread across like 20 countries across West Africa, more than 20 countries across West Africa. You can find us in Senegal, find us in Mauritania, find us in Burkina Faso, Togo, like all Nigeria, like, so because we go where we have green pastures, like, we for the cattle, that's originally who we are. So we all speak Fulani, but
Is
depending,
that the reason why you're in Japan?
I don't know, maybe, So the we all speak Fulani, and the language is different depending on the country. Like, we understand, it's like this thing with Portuguese, French, Spanish, and stuff. Some of these words, sometimes we share the same words, but we have different meanings for the same word, or we say it different. So you are almost there, but you're not quite there. You're like, oh, but this guy is saying things. I can get it, but I don't quite, get it. So Fulani is from Senegal, probably they'll be like, you guys speak weird version of this of our language. Now you guys are the ones that speak the weirdest version of our language. So if you meet Fulanis from other countries, you really there's a connection, but then you guys cannot really completely, connect, because of these differences. But you know that you guys have the same ancestors. Like, there's definitely no, and you look alike. You look alike, because you have a very specific look, you know. So going back to Guinea, being born and having grown in the city, like, even within Guinea, it's one Fulani, but people at the village, in the village, and people in the city have slight differences. Those ones we can understand each other, but they have one that is closer to the old version, old form. So I've had instances where I've had uncles look at me like, like with disdain, look at this guy, like, speaking. Because one other thing is also that we mix French a lot in the city. Like, we be throwing French words in there. Now they are disgusted by that thing. Like, why in the hell would you mix French with Fulani? You know. So I've had, like, I met this uncle down, was really radical. Like, he was like, he looked at me, because we still, for us, if people get mad, you can get a whooping, real quick, So he was looking at me like, as in, my father has really spoiled us, my father has, like, hasn't really taught us, the proper way, and stuff, because, when we speak French, you feel like, oh, for you, because you're speaking French, you're better than anyone, or you have a certain, come, like, like, you are Fulani before all those things, so you need to speak your language. So I've had instances where, yeah, I felt uncomfortable in certain. Sometimes they even, like, say words that I'm like, yo, what does he really mean by that? Like, I don't really understand. Especially when it comes to honorific, formal speaking. Like, when you speak to an elder. When you speak to an elder, like, sometimes they use a language. I'm like, these people are speaking completely different. The way, just like in Japanese, the way you say, you ask old people, have you guys rested well? Like, you don't say you. English, only one pronoun, you. In Fulani, you don't say you to an elder. There are many ways to call them. So that's for the city boy thing. As for interethnic marriages, as I mentioned earlier, we're really conservative, and people don't really marry outside of their tribe. Like, we're at this point in our history where we're truly trying to promote that, because the truth is, we it's taken us long to understand that we only have each other. Like, now hearing all stories from, like, Zinga and Wilson, I realized that we even actually, let's say, we actually have it maybe good, because not better, but because we have less tribes. We have like 24 ethnic groups, and Wilson is talking about how many? Definitely more than 24, and Zinga also the same thing. So I think it is easier maybe to manage our situation if we truly accept to, to do this thing, in a certain way. But um, as Wilson also mentioned, like, or was it Zinga? I don't quite remember. Politicians have really manipulated, tried to use these differences against us, especially when it comes, like, to elections, election campaigns, and stuff, like, like, yo, these guys are Fulani, these guys are Susu, these guys are Mandingo. Don't vote for this and we are together, like, they are against us. Whenever we have elections, those are the times where we are most divided in the country. It is a really sad state of affairs. Recently had elections, and I was really saddened by all the events that happened. There's no war, civil war, or anything like that. Even though there have been instances of people being attacked and stuff because of who they are and stuff, but it's mostly verbal, and also it's like Cold War when it comes to elections, and that is truly something that we need to work toward getting rid of. That is truly something that we need to work. That's why I don't know if you guys watch the news and stuff, but recently had a coup d'état, because our running president, our current president, our former president now, Alpha Conde, was trying to he modify the constitution to run for a third term, even though we all like most of us demonstrated, like, spoke against it, like, but he went on and pushed, like, through. He went on to organize a referendum, and to force people, like, to vote for a new constitution that he changed to his advantage. So, and he ran heavy on the ethnic fiber, like, this ethnic thing, it's only the Fulanis that are opposing my third term because they think these are really bad things. So these are things that cause more and more divide, and we truly need our politicians to go the other way, work towards uniting us instead of dividing us, and that would definitely go happen with intermarriages between ethnic groups. Yeah, that's my take on it.
So, do you want them to kill the tribes?
Well, I wouldn't go as far as killing the tribe, because I still believe, as I mentioned earlier, like, these are identities. This is a cultural diversity. Guinea is really rich. We have a big, like, a lot of cultural diversity. Like, people have very rich languages, and there's food, there's clothing, there's traditions. Every tribe is unique. Like, seriously, truly, every tribe is unique, and it would be a loss if we lost all that uniqueness. So we need to find, it's okay to be united around French, because I always say, when I came to Japan, I was really amazed by the fact that Japanese, like, they did everything in their language. I used to think before coming to this country that science could only be done in these European languages, like French, English, Japanese, I don't know what else. So I was like, no, there's no way. Just like Zinga was telling me, so I was like, there's no way these people can do math, physics, chemistry in Japanese. There's no way. At some point, like, I was still waiting. And they proved me wrong every step of the way. Every time I thought at this point they'll have to rely on something, they proved me wrong. They have everything in Japanese. So to be honest, me, that is something that truly touched me, moved me. Like, I have a deep, like, like, respect, like, for Japanese, because of that fact, because of the fact that, like, they were able to master science, to master all these things in their languages. Now us, Japanese, it took them, like, they didn't do this overnight. At this, and also it's only Japanese. It's true that people in Tokyo, people in Osaka, they have dialects, but it's the main the language is basically the same. It's just dialects here and there. So it's easier for them, I guess, to make to unite the whole country around this language. Now, for us, it's different. If we choose one language, the language of one tribe, and say, okay, all the tribes are definitely going to be like, no, what's wrong with you? Like, I mean, we also exist. So I guess French plays that unifying role, but that does not mean that we could throw away our tribes and our languages. I think we need to find a way to make it coexist and to make it work.
That's quite interesting. Listening to all you guys from different countries, and especially like Wilson and Zinga, they are united around Portuguese, but you can see the background of Portuguese is very different. Therefore, making the country's philosophies and ideas also very different. So that is quite interesting. I hope that is something our listeners can pick up on. So Joy, Joe, you and I understand each other from the same country, but what would you like to add?
Okay, for me, as I've read, I'm just trying to collaborate what I'm reading, let's say in my program, and let's say business and development and social networks. Those are the things I'm interested in currently. But I believe that Africa is rich in its cultural diversity. There is too much we can offer in our native, like let's say in our businesses, there is too much we can offer based off of our culture. But at the same time, I cannot deny that the diversity is somehow holding us back. I think, yeah, I agree. Like Bagu, you just said, if we decided to choose one native language for every country in Africa to be that national language, I think we will have a lot of blood being shed. So the fact, so the fact that we can't even decide amongst ourselves, even with rational reasoning, like, okay, this is the majority of the population, let's take on this, or let's try to, if let's say native languages are being taught up to high school, let's push them to the university. I mean, there would be so much debating around just one. So I think our diversity is at the same time a disadvantage to our development. I mean, politically, economically, if one is in power, they want everybody else to be their people. So we cannot deny that fact that it's actually happening. Yeah.
As a mother of multicultural children in a foreign land, you know, how, you know, Wilson posed the question, the how. Are there things you are doing? Are there tips you have for parents in your position? Or you've given up on this whole thing of teaching the children any mother tongue?
Actually, when I was still pregnant and even before I had my children, I was really passionate about teaching them my language, because my husband, because he speaks my language, he didn't really mind me teaching the kids my language. So I was very enthusiastic. The boy was born. 1 year when he was supposed to be talking, 1 year, 2 years, he really took his time. And then the doctor was like, okay, what languages are you using? I'm like, yeah, I use my native language at home. And when he's interacting with people, he's now hearing the English. So I don't know. The doctor was like, maybe the mixture of the language is delaying him, like he's confused. Anyway, it got to a point where I was really concerned, like my boy should be talking at this point.
Wow.
They're like, okay. They're like, okay, just try to teach him one language so that we see exactly, we can diagnose, okay, it's one language and he's still not getting it, then we need to intervene at a higher level. So at that point, I was at a disadvantage. The passion I had for Luganda all died because I was like, okay, the most important thing is I want my boy to start talking. So I definitely had to use the English. It got to a point where when I tried, I was like, I'm just trying so much. I mean, he doesn't interact with anybody. It's just me, no other kids. Yeah. But now when the sister came on board, she was totally different. She picked on speaking so fast. And I think now I'm introducing the Luganda, because the boy is almost 5. He's speaking so perfectly. The English is now well. Now I want to introduce another language. So when I speak to them, they always just laugh. And like I say, I want to spank you. I want them to learn those disciplinary words, which I can't say in front of, other people outside my house.
You want to be the threatening African mother.
Yes, if the eye can't be enough to get you in order, I want to say things like Njakukuba, and I always say that, like Njakukuba, they know I will spank you, so they get back into shape. So some other person wants
that
to know.
That is exactly the same way how we say.
Really?
Really?
Yeah, Nijakukuba. We say Nijakukuba. Exactly.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
What are the odds? Okay, the odds are there, but we just didn't know.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm sorry.
I said, I guess they are all Bantu languages. They all have
Right.
roots and
Yeah.
stuff.
So for me, my the way I'm trying to use the language, it's not like I'm purposefully speaking Luganda around the house, because subconsciously I'm speaking English. Even when I should have said that in Luganda, but I'm already speaking English. So, but I'm making an effort to be like, okay, they know that a cup is this, picking words one by one. And I hope eventually they will kind of make sense of my speech in sentences, but I'm not like really purposefully speaking Luganda at this point. No, I'm just picking words that they can remember and laugh about. And yeah, but we are praying in Luganda. Yeah, just those things that make them happy and excited. So yeah, I'm trying, but I'm taking it very, very slow. I'm not overwhelming them.
All right, all right.
But one thing I didn't say, maybe it's like when I go out and I find people speaking Spanish, like South Americans, Brazilians, and South Americans, they speak their languages. You may think they're in their country, like confidently they are speaking Spanish. And they're like, okay, how do these kids manage to learn both languages at the same time? So it amazes me. I mean, I really loved that, but it just didn't work out.